And we are back. Welcome to episode 10, guys. We made it of Joe's Knows Basketball. Started off with the Rim Grazers podcast, then the Rim Grazers show. Now it's Joe's Knows Basketball. Nonetheless, the 10th episode. We got all the way here. So many heated debates in the past. I see so many in the future, especially in the next hour to hour and a half with this episode we have planned. Of course, we will hit Freed's top five, giving you the top five teams in the league so far at this point. And then we will also be going over our positional rankings. That means top five for point guards, shooting guards, small forward, power forward, and center. Each of our top fives at all of those positions should get very heated, should be very fun. Nonetheless, let's start it off how we always started off. So, Freeman, give us your Freed's top five.
Yeah, my top five teams in the NBA this week kick off with number one, the Boston Celtics. Again, best record in the NBA. I mean, they're proven. They made a deep run last year. They're the clear-cut number one team in the NBA. Now, at number two, give me the Memphis Grizzlies, and let me explain why.
I love it.
I've touched on it in previous episodes. You are looking at what they've done to this point and what they've done with what they have. So you need to take into account the injuries that the Grizzlies have dealt with. Their big three of Bane, Ja, and Jaren Jackson Jr. have not played 1 minute on the floor together, yet they're the number one seed in the West, and they're only 2.5 games back from the Celtics, who lead the league in winning percentage. So the Grizzlies, for me, I think when they get healthy, they're the second best team in the NBA without a doubt. Number three, I have the Milwaukee Bucks. A lot of you, I'm sure, were expecting them to be at number two. I slid them down to number three. And number four, I have the team that I've been loving so much this year, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think the talent is there. They're the third team in the East right now in a loaded Eastern Conference, very top-heavy Eastern Conference. So I'll slide them in at number four. And at number five, I'll take the Phoenix Suns. I know you have your skepticism, but they continue to win. So I'll slide them in at number five.
So, guys, any thoughts?
Yeah. Top four, I love it. I love the Grizzlies at two. I think you could have made a case for them at number one. Do I think that they are the best team in the league? No. But I think they're that close, Matt. I'll give you a little bit of credit. I think the Grizzlies are that good when they're fully healthy. I know in the NBA Power Rankings this week on Instagram, Grizzlies slid up to one. They bumped the Celtics down to two, and I don't hate it. I like it a lot. I think the top four is good. The Suns at five, you lose me a little bit. I think the Nuggets are the better team as of so far. I like the way Jokic has been playing. Jokic had that monster 43-point game the other night. And as a team, I like how the Nuggets have been playing a little bit better. So for me, I would slide those Nuggets into five and move the Suns down one. But other than that, I like Matt's list this week.
Really quick, just to because I respect the opinion putting the Nuggets ahead, but I just think the Suns have to be put ahead of the Nuggets. We touched on it again last episode. Chris Paul has missed a lot of time. Cameron Johnson's missed a lot of time. Mikal Bridges has been dealing with an injury for a couple games this year. So the Suns have dealt with injuries. The Nuggets, I understand Michael Porter Jr. has been out, but I think the Suns just have more talent, and they've been dealing with more absences than the Nuggets. So when they have the same record or they're even right now in the Western Conference standings, the Suns have dealt with more, and they're going to be getting their assets back later on in the year. I'll take them right now, but I can see the argument for the Nuggets for sure.
Yeah, I think it's very close. It's not like a landslide by any means. I think they're almost interchangeable.
Yeah, guys, at this point of the season, I mean, the top five teams in the NBA is pretty non-debatable. I mean, maybe there's 6 teams for consideration, like you mentioned, the Nuggets. But, I mean, the order is pretty cemented. Maybe you can shift a couple teams around. But, yeah, Freeman, I think that top five is near perfect, in my opinion, as well. I think we'll move right on to our positional rankings. We'll start with the top 5 point guards in the National Basketball Association. So, Nate, I'll have you start. What is your top 5?
Okay, and number one, I have Luka. And number two, I have SGA. For those people who don't know, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. 3, I have Steph Curry. 4, I have Ja. And then at 5, I have Trae Young.
All right. This, I don't even know what to say. Holy recency bias is crazy here. I can't. First of all, I'll get right to the point. SGA isn't even on my list because of the recency bias. He's playing great. He's not even on my list for point guards. I think that there's clearly 5 point guards better than him in the league. So I think that the recency bias with SGA, if you wanted to put him at 4 or 5, I don't hate it, but the fact that SGA is number 2 is just an abomination to me. So, Ben, is it my turn here?
Yeah, I mean, real quick, I think we're kind of at two ends of the spectrum here. Nate thinks SGA is number 2. Guac thinks SGA isn't even a top 5 point guard. So
So,
definitely some hard views
just
here.
for the viewers at home, to make this clear, we talked about it before the show. It's a mixture of this season and what they have done so far in previous games, mostly this season, and I can agree with that. But even with that, I can't put SGA. So here's my top 5.
I'm not even going to respond.
Number 1, Luka. Number 2, Steph. Those should be the no doubt number 1 and 2 point guards, in my opinion. I think that those are top 2. Number 3, I think, is Ja Morant. I think he's leading one of the best teams in the league. He's a young point guard. He's done great this year, and he's going to continue to do great, and he has been great. So I have Ja Morant at number 3. Number 4, I could change this, but for me, I think because he's been so good for so long and he's been getting them done this year, I'm going to put Damian Lillard at number 4. And now I'll tell you why. I think his team has been very solid. I think that he's done it in years past, and this year is no doubt he hasn't taken much regression in my eyes. And I think for that reason, because SGA, again, I talked about it last week, it's such a short clip for SGA, I think that I would put Damian Lillard over him. And at number 5, as much as I hate it, but I have to because the skill is undeniably there, I'm going to have to put Trae Young at number 5. I think even with the regression with DeJounte Murray in his own backcourt, I think that skill-wise, he still is a top 5 point guard in the league. And for your information, I would have SGA at number 6, or I could flip him with Trae Young at number 5. So let me take back my word. You know what? Let me take back my word. SGA is in my top 5. Get Trae Young out of there. I put SGA at 5.
So this just completely just disregards what you said. Okay.
I'm sorry. I messed up. I just think that Trae Young is, I don't know. And we'll get into Tyrese Halliburton a little bit later, but he's a shooting guard, by the way, guys.
He's just not. He's
absolutely
just not
a point guard.
All right, yeah, we don't have to debate that. We'll go over Tyrese in shooting guards, but
we'll just you know what? He's a shooting guard. We'll just say
that's what I put him at. But
guys, any thoughts on Guac's list?
You know what? Yeah, I'll go back against it. I lied. I'm gonna put SGA at 5, move Trae Young down to 6. So SGA is
all I have to say is he just said to me that SGA is not top 5.
I just think
that I'm just gonna leave that.
I'm sorry, but I think SGA at 2 is still an abomination. All 4 point guards I listed are better than SGA, have proven it, and have done it for longer. So I can't.
I was going off of this year. I was going off of this specific.
It is mostly this year, but it's also a mixture of like last year a little bit too, and the consistency of how they've done it. SGA just broke out this year. I get that. And that's why I have him
he did
on
not
my top
just
5.
break out this year. He's been playing consistently.
Oh, stop it. If you think he was that good last year, you're.
I mean, he wasn't like MVP caliber like he is this year, but he still was a very good player.
He was not even close to top 5 last year. But I think that him at 5 is a fair. So I'm moving on to Matt here.
Jug, really quick. All right. So for me, really quick, if Tyrese Halliburton would be listed as a point guard, where would he slide in at your rankings? Where would he slide in if Tyrese Halliburton's being listed as a point guard?
You can keep him at shooting guard for your shooting guard rankings.
Well, I have him. We'll get to him in my shooting guard rankings. He's up there. He's on my list. But if you were a point guard, it would, again, it's that same thing me and Matt argue about. I think it's very, very close to SGA and Halliburton argument. So I would even put Halliburton over Trae Young because of how well he's played this season. So I would put Halliburton and SGA or that 5-6 that could interchange for me. That would be my 5-6. And then I'll put Trae Young after, and then Chris Paul right around there.
Okay. Freeman?
For my top 5 point guards in the NBA, I think number 1 is Luka. I think that's pretty much non-negotiable. Number 2 is Steph, non-negotiable. Number 3 is Ja. Again, I don't think you could argue that. Number 4, I'm going to put Damian Lillard. I'm really hoping you guys are not sleeping on him. I mean, he gets injured for the beginning part of this year, and people forget how dominant he can be and how great he is in the clutch. So he's number 4 without a doubt. And then number 5, this is where I slide SGA in there, having an unbelievable year. He's really just breaking out for the first time this year. He's a very young player, but that's where SGA slides in at number 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very chalk list. Those are all massive names. So, I mean, does anyone have anything to say about that, or should we just?
No, I mean, again, for me, it's the comparison of SGA and Halliburton is so close to me because Halliburton is the best ball distributor in the league. Again, SGA has better numbers, but Halliburton's team is also winning more. and with very similar rosters to me. So
not very similar rosters.
Who's
The
on the
Thunder,
Pacers that's good? Can you explain to me that?
You are the
Miles
biggest
Turner.
Benedict Mathurin
Benedict
advocate
Mathurin.
I know
I've
Benedict
met in my
Mathurin's good
entire
too.
life.
He has 2 players.
They have a
SGA
top-tier center who can shoot the 3 ball and rebound.
But
Miles
SGA
Turner,
has guys like Lou Dort and Josh Giddey who are good role players.
Josh Giddey has been hurt most of this year, and Lou Dort.
Wait, has Josh Giddey even played the past 2 months?
I very minimally, if he has even played this past 2 months. Buddy Hield is giving you 17 a game on very efficient shooting. You got Miles Turner, we already mentioned him. Benedict Mathurin looking like he's a potential rookie of the year, either him or Banchero. But this Pacers team, it has talent. Now, if you are taking a look at this Oklahoma City Thunder team, I just don't see where you're finding the talent at. There's really nobody else, right? They drafted Chet. He's obviously out for the year. I mean, Giddey's absence has definitely been felt. And even with Giddey in the lineup, he does not compare to Miles Turner. He does not compare, from what it seems like, to Benedict Mathurin from what we've seen this year in his rookie year. It's pretty clear that the Pacers, if you remove Shea and you remove Halliburton, the Pacers are a much better roster than the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Fair. That's fair. All right.
So I think we'll, like I mentioned, Freeman's list, very chalk. Mine is chalk for the most part. There's one player that I'm going to sneak in there. Can't wait for your reaction. So my top 5 4 point guards. Number 1 is Luka. Number 2 is Steph. I think it's a bit closer than you guys make it out to be. I think Steph is somehow being a little bit not underrated, but forgotten about. He is unreal offensively. I would say a better scorer than Luka, but yeah, I still have Luka as a better point guard than Steph. Number 3, I have Ja Morant. Once again, I think it's pretty fair to say Ja is number 3, even though some of you guys didn't have him at 3. 4, I have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Just what he's doing this year is unbelievable. And number 5, give me Milwaukee Bucks point guard Jrue Holiday.
Oh,
yep,
that's not bad.
It's not awful, but Ben, can I go here real quick?
I do want to explain it.
Yeah, go ahead.
In terms of numbers, Jrue Holiday doesn't hold a candle to the top 8 or 9 point guards, if we're being honest, in terms of points per game, assists per game, all that. But I want to talk about the impact that he makes for his team. I would argue the best defensive point guard in the NBA, still putting up 19 points per game this year, shooting incredibly, 46% this year, 50% the past couple of seasons, as well as 7.5 assists. Jrue Holiday is the best defensive point guard. He is an incredible playmaker, and he doesn't need to score on the Bucks. So the impact he makes for the Bucks is so valuable that's why I have him at number 5.
All right. Can I go first? I know Matt's
going
to want to go after me. So I just think that I don't hate it. And the more I hear it, I don't hate it. But Ben, you look at the guys at the top of this list, like the guys you left out. Damian Lillard has to be on there. He's a superstar. He is a superstar for the Portland Trailblazers, and his impact. I get Jrue Holiday's impact is big, but Lillard's impact is out of this world. Even Trae Young and the I would say both the Hawks guys, both the guys in the Hawks, DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, I think are over Jrue Holiday in my opinion. I'm not very high on Trae Young, but the skill is undoubtedly there. And we've been able to see that through the first couple seasons. And another guy who I am really not a big fan of, who I would still take over, is Chris Paul. Because if you want to talk about a guy whose impact is felt on his team, Chris Paul's impact is very, very felt on the Phoenix Suns. So I just think that Jrue Holiday, it isn't an abomination to me as much as putting it SGA at number 2. But I can't see him. I can't see you sliding him in over some of these big name guys that are teams' number 1 options.
Can I explain why I put SGA at number 2?
No, let's go to Freeman for the Jrue Holiday, and then we can get back.
I want to hear this.
So, I think that's really an abomination. But really quick, before I get to that, I just want to touch, Jock, you just said you would rather Chris Paul over Jrue Holiday.
It's close. I think that Chris Paul has more of an impact on his team than Jrue Holiday does on the Bucks. But
that's where I would disagree, though, because Jrue Holiday is undoubtedly a better defender. I mean, the only thing that Chris Paul might have is the his ability to distribute the basketball. But if you're looking at Chris Paul, he brings the ball up to court. He's got Devin Booker, one of the brightest scorers in this league. He's got DeAndre Ayton, one of the best centers in this league. Mikal Bridges can shoot the three ball. He has so many weapons to distribute the ball to. I understand Giannis is fantastic. Chris Middleton's fantastic. He's dealt with injuries. Jrue Holiday doesn't necessarily have the firepower that the Suns have and that Chris Paul has. And not to mention, Jrue Holiday's a better scorer. Jrue Holiday's a better defender. Like, you're just forgetting all of these things. He's a better scorer, better defender. The only thing that Chris Paul does better is distribute the basketball. So where is Chris Paul better than Jrue Holiday?
It's close. Let me think about how I want to say this real quick. Ben, I'll move it to you and just give me a second to formulate what I want to say.
I mean, the argument I want to make against Dame, obviously Dame is a massive name, and I would be lying if I told you that I was 100% all in on Jrue Holiday being the 5th best point guard in the NBA. But the thing I have with Jrue Holiday is he does not take nearly as many shots throughout his entire career as guys like Dame and other guys like that, as guys like Ja. Not that I have him above, but you know what I mean. Like the firm number one option on a team. So Dame in the past 3 seasons averages around 7 or 8 more shots, as well as averaging around 6 or 7 more points. Now Jrue Holiday has a 50% shooting percentage. Dame is around 41, 42. So Jrue Holiday, I mean, technically, obviously, we couldn't know for sure, but he would be averaging more points than Damian Lillard with the same amount of shots. I know it's a very hypothetical. I'm not going to try and argue that too much. But yeah, I need to throw it out there because in terms of his field goal percentage and in terms of his field goals attempted each game, I mean, you could assume Jrue Holiday would at least have 4 or 5 more points per game in these seasons compared to Damian Lillard.
Yeah, I think that just I can understand that, but it also, like, there's other things that weigh into it. You can't just like say, oh, if he shot more shots with the same field goal percent, like the field goal percentage is going to alter if he takes more shots. Like Jrue Holiday that's his game. That's been his game for years. To just throw more shots on there, like that's going to affect his game positively, maybe negatively, maybe. Like you can't really pinpoint which one it's going to be. So Jrue Holiday, I agree. If you're going to tell me he's underrated, I agree. He's what makes this Bucks team work. He distributes the ball. He scores when he needs to. Plays fantastic defense. Like, all the props in the world to Jrue Holiday. But, I mean, again, like, you had SGA ahead of him. You had Ja ahead of him. Or you had SGA, Ja, Luka, and Steph ahead of him. Great. I think Dame has got to be ahead of him. You brought up the shot frequency. But Damian Lillard has just single-handedly dragged this Portland Trailblazers team to the playoffs year in and year out. Whenever they have any sort of success, it is 100% his doing. He scores the ball at a superstar rate. I mean, he's doing it with little to no help, while Jrue Holiday is playing alongside of, an MVP, Defensive Player of the Year type guy who's, undoubtedly one of the best players in basketball. And then Chris Middleton, I mean, you could argue Jrue Holiday's second option to distribute the ball to is better than anyone else on the Blazers besides Dame. So I think that Jrue Holiday, massively underrated, but to put him ahead of guys like Dame, just that you can't change my mind on that one.
Yeah, and obviously it's the easy pick, but Freeman, I'm not like you. I think I'm more courageous. So I was able to put him in at 5. Well, you just had to put the chalk picks, but hey, that's just you. It's easy for you to do that. I took the hard route here. And also, you guys know how much I value defense. It's going to show so much in my list for all the other positions. So I think that's another reason why he means so much to this Bucks team. I love taking value into account, and obviously, yes, Dame value to his team. Not going to say if you swap roles it would be different, but I just think Jrue Holiday works better on the Bucks than Dame would. Dame works better on the Blazers than Jrue Holiday would, and I just value Jrue Holiday and what he's done the past couple of seasons more than Dame. But I mean, once again, I'm not passionate about it. There's so many guys I could slot in at 5. Jock?
Wait, me?
Oh, I saw you have a reaction. We can move on if that's all right.
It's not really anything big, but Matt said the Blazers have no help this year. That's just not true. Anthony Simons is
this year never came out of my mouth.
Okay, sorry. So then no, Matt's right. This year, Dame finally has some help. But other than that, yes, Matt, I agree with Matt.
Got it. So we'll move on to the top 5 shooting guards then. So Nate, I'll kick it right back to you. Who are your top 5 twos in the NBA?
All right. For the top 2 for me, I mean, you could probably switch it back and forth, but I have Donovan Mitchell, then Jaylen Brown, and then I have DeJounte Murray, Devin Booker, then Bradley Beal.
Oh man, this is fun. I think the reaction is about Devin Booker being at 4. So Nate, do you want to defend why you have Jaylen Brown and who was at 3? DeJounte Murray.
DeJounte Murray. I had Donovan Mitchell at 1.
Would you like to? Yeah, Donovan Mitchell. I don't think anyone will have a massive problem with. Would you like to defend Jaylen Brown and DeJounte Murray before the Wolf Pack goes in on you here?
Do I have to defend Jaylen Brown? I mean, the guy averages 20 and is one of the best defenders in the league. And DeJounte Murray on the Hawks, like, he is the reason they're winning games when Trae Young is not on the floor. And Devin Booker this year he's been struggling. That's why I put him at 4. If he's having a good season, like his normal season, he probably is 3. But I still wouldn't put him over Jaylen Brown or Donovan Mitchell.
Please let me jump in here.
Go ahead, Freeman.
You're telling me that Devin Booker is struggling. This is absolutely a career year for him. I mean, This is the most points per game he's had in his entire career. This is his 3rd best year in terms of assists per game. He's getting 5.8, which is phenomenal. He's playing better defense than he ever has in his entire career. And his shooting efficiency is around the top he's had in his entire career. So when you're scoring more points than you've ever had in your entire career, your efficiency stays the same, your defense is getting better, your ball distributing is the best it's been in the past 5 years, and your team is doing well. The Suns are better than the Hawks. How? Devin Booker is not having a down year, 1. And 2, Devin Booker is a clear top 2 shooting guard in the NBA without a doubt.
You're putting him over Jaylen Brown?
No. I'm putting him over Jaylen Brown.
I agree with both of you in sense. I don't think he's a clear top 2 shooting guard, but I would put him over Jaylen Brown.
Wow.
Wait, hold up. Then who's your top 2?
Can I get to my list, please?
Yeah, go ahead then, Guac.
All right, so my top 2 could be interchangeable. So I'm not too passionate about if you have them at 1 or 2, but I think these are the top 2 point guards in the league. So I think Donovan Mitchell is one of them that you could slide in there. But the other guy, I think, is a healthy James Harden. Let me get to this. I think James Harden, when he is healthy, is a top 2 shooting guard in the league. No doubt in my mind. He's one of the best scorers, all-around scorers in the league. His defense is subpar. I get that. But he makes up with it for how good his scoring is. So I would have those at my top 2. At number 3, I would have Devin Booker. At number 4, I would have Jaylen Brown. And then real quick, I just want to screen present real quick. I have a nice little share I would like to do real quick.
There we go. Just let me. Yeah, I'm looking for it.
Wait, hold up. What the? Why is it not working? Whatever. Fine. I'll get it up in a sec. But for me, it's between 2 guys at number 5. 2 guys I'm very high on: Tyrese Halliburton and Bradley Beal. I think it's very close for the 2 of them. I think that the fact that Halliburton has stepped into being the best passer and ball distributor into the NBA, I think gives him a slight edge over Beal. So I'm going to slide Tyrese Halliburton in at number 5.
All right, thoughts?
I just to say that James Harden is one of the best scorers in the NBA.
He is
one of the worst things I've ever heard.
What?
Ever.
Are we serious? Do we forget
we are dead
James
serious.
Harden is?
It's not 2018 anymore. He's averaging 22 a game over
and
his
he's been hurt
like
half the season.
Over his last 3 years, he's averaging 22 points per game. There is easily 15 scores that are better than him, and there's easily 3 to 4 scores that
you could make an argument that like Tyler Hero is better than James Harden right now.
Oh, see, that is a little ridiculous.
Last year Tyler Hero and this year Tyler Hero, you definitely could make that argument.
Absolutely not. Maybe you can. I'm not that delusional,
no.
But my point is James Harden, listing him as one of the best scorers in the NBA. Donovan Mitchell is a better scorer than him. Devin Booker is a better scorer than him. And Jaylen Brown is a better scorer than him. And if we're talking just sheer points per game, so is Anthony Edwards and so is Desmond Bane in the past 3 years. So he's not only is he not a elite scorer in the NBA anymore, he's not even an elite scorer at his own position in the NBA. His game has completely shifted. And I think he's doing a great job of transitioning into his older years, but he is absolutely not one of the elite scorers in the NBA. Listen, to slide him in at the back end of your shooting guard list, I can maybe understand it, but to put him at number 2 is just unbelievable to me. He doesn't score the ball like he used to. His ability to distribute the ball is improving massively, but that scoring output has taken such a hit where I'll take these younger superstars that are pouring in more points at a higher clip over James Harden.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the other thing with James Harden, I mean, he's one of my guys too. Like I argue for him all the time. I mean, I think I made the argument him being the best player on the Sixers at the start of the season. Awful take, but hey, I made it. But also, I mean, in Houston when he was averaging the 36, 37, whatever he was doing, he had like a 45, 46% from the field goal range. Now, like even shooting way less, his field goal percentage has gone down. Like now he's shooting 40%. So it's not even like his shots per game are going down, which I argued before. Like his field goal percentage is going down too. So he's just getting worse as a scorer. I feel like that's pretty evident.
Absolutely. That's where I get lost. I mean, elite score, absolutely not. And just the inefficiency. It's not that his scoring output is taking a step back. Like you look at Chris Paul, and I'm comparing these two players in the sense of as Chris Paul got older, he took a backseat in the scoring role and really just was a distributor, but he was still efficient when he decided to score, or as efficient as he has been in previous years. James Harden not only has his points per game taken a hit, his efficiency has taken a huge hit. So he's just clearly not the same player that he was in Houston. I'll get to my top 5 right now. He's just not in there for me. My top 5 shooting guards in the NBA, I have Donovan Mitchell at number 1. I have Devin Booker at number 2. I have Jaylen Brown at number 3. I slide Anthony Edwards in at number 4. And then at number 5, I'll put Desmond Bane. And I would like to give an honorable mention to DeJounte Murray. I believe that if he was on a team without Trae Young, who is maybe the most overrated player in all of basketball, the fact that he was even mentioned to be in the top 5 by both Nate and Giacomo are absolutely unbelievable. He's shooting under 30% from 3. He's shooting about 40% from the field, turning the ball over at a high rate. Like, I understand Trae Young has the high points and the high assists, but he is the most inefficient player in all of basketball. If DeJounte Murray was on his own, he would be probably number 3 or number 4 on this list.
I agree.
But unfortunately, he's with the black hole that Trae Young is on the court, and that hits his scoring output. He's a great defender. That's why I slide him in honorable mention.
All right. Can I go here?
Yeah, you can go, Nate. I want to hear your take too as a Hawks fan as well.
So thinking about it more, I could slide Harden down a couple spots. So I'm not really worried about that as much.
I want you sticking with it, man. Like I'm not gonna lie.
Bro, I'm not changing my list, bro. Like Jaylen Brown and DeJounte
injuries are a big factor, but I'm not here to debate that much. I'm not too passionate about this. I'm looking at Matt's 4 and 5 here with Anthony Edwards. Okay, so first of all, Anthony Edwards over Desmond Bane is just wrong. That's wrong. I don't think either of these guys should be on the list.
Anthony Edwards is a shooting guard?
Anthony Edwards is a shooting guard.
Yes, he's a shooting guard, but he shouldn't even be on the list. So I think that you give your guy credit. I think Bane's a better player than Anthony Edwards, and I would stand by that. So I think if you were to put those two as your bottom 2, I think I would put Bane over Edwards. Now, I can't see either of these guys being better than Bradley Beal or Tyrese Halliburton. So can you explain to me why either of these guys should be over either of those two? Because to me, that it's not even close. I think DeJounte Murray's a good mention. I just think that I could see Bane maybe. I think the fact that Anthony Edwards is 4 is really the one that bothers me. I think that I can name you at least 3 or 4 shooting guards better than him. And Anthony Edwards isn't even a number 1 option on his team. I can't see you putting him over those 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah, so Freed, actually, real quick, he brought up Tyrese Halliburton. I know we had a bit of confusion whether or not he's a point guard or shooting guard. So if Tyrese was a shooting guard, where would you have slotted him in for your shooting guard?
I can see that there was definitely some confusion. I did not have Tyrese Halliburton as a shooting guard. I had him as a point guard. If I were to see, like, this is where it gets. I wouldn't have him over Desmond Bane, and I wouldn't have him. Maybe like 5. He would definitely be my honorable mention. I'd rather him over DeJounte Murray, but I probably still wouldn't have him in there. You look at to argue my Anthony Edwards, like he is the leading scorer on the Minnesota Timberwolves. He absolutely is the number one option. He's having a career year defensively. He's averaging almost 2 steals per game. This is a huge step for him. And he's playing in an absolute dumpster fire team right now where Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert are running into each other, yet Anthony Edwards still manages to score 23 a game, high efficiency, and play very good defense. He has to be in there. I try to kind of give Anthony Edwards the benefit of the doubt because I know how I can be, as a Grizzlies fan, I can be slightly biased towards the Grizzlies. So I was trying to counteract that. I could really make arguments for either, but I just look at Anthony Edwards. He is the primary option on this Minnesota Timberwolves team. And I would say he's an even defender with Desmond Bane. I mean, this year he's better. So I have Anthony Edwards slightly ahead of Desmond Bane. I think if you put Anthony Edwards on the Grizzlies, he would absolutely flounder. And I think it would be the same thing if you put Desmond Bane on the Timberwolves because they're just perfect for each of their teams. So it's not like a situational thing. It's just, I think it is a situational thing in the sense of Anthony Edwards has to do more, and he does a little bit more.
Can I screen share, Ben? I figured out my screen sharing.
There you go. Yeah, you're good. Also,
right.
Nate, while Jock is figuring that out, I mentioned Freeman brought up Trae Young being a black hole and how that negatively affects DeJounte Murray. So any takes on what Freeman said earlier?
I don't think it actually even hurts DeJounte Murray. I mean, Nate McMillan, the head coach of the Hawks, has done a good job giving both players like the ball. So to be the primary ball handler when each player is not on the court. So both of their points take a hit, but I don't think that overall affects them that much.
I would disagree there.
I agree with that.
If you look at Trae Young, I mean, his points haven't really taken a hit. He's having one of the better scoring years he's had in his entire career. I believe it's the second best scoring year he's had. I mean, his career average is 25 a game. He's at 27 for this year. His shooting efficiency is just awful. Completely awful. He's shooting 29% from 3-point. That is just, completely and utterly disappointing. Career low in 3-point percentage and in field goal percentage at 41.2. He just continues to shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. And you look at the high assist number, okay. You look at the high points number, okay. But like I just said, the efficiency is awful. He's averaging 4 turnovers a game. This is not a good point guard. This is not a winning point guard. DeJounte Murray plays way better defense. I think he's way more responsible with the basketball in his hands, and he scores much more efficiently. So I think DeJounte Murray is better than Trae Young. I think Trae Young, on both Nate and Jock's point guard list, the fact that he was mentioned is just completely just disgusting because of how poorly he's played this year. And quite frankly, he's never been a very efficient shooter or point guard. I mean, you look at recent history for his career, he hasn't been in the league too long. He's averaging 4.1 turnovers per game. That would just not be the guy that I take to lead my team in a battle. He just would not sniff the top 5 on my point guard list.
All right, Quack. So we'll toss this up.
Yeah. So I can't see the best ball distributor in the league. You look at him in transition here. This is on LeBron, by the way. Beautiful feet, hasn't lost. I mean, just Halliburton is by far the best. He's the best ball distributor in the league. So I can't see you putting Anthony Edwards over a guy. I get the points per game is less than Anthony Edwards, but I can't see you putting Anthony Edwards and Desmond Bane over the best ball distributor in the league that scores just a little bit less, and he's the number one option on his team, and his team is a decent team in the East. I'm not saying they're a great team, but they're a lot better than people expected.
Well, this is where I disagree with you, heavily. This Indiana Pacers team is a game under 500. This Minnesota Timberwolves team is a game over 500. The Timberwolves have been an absolute dumpster fire in terms of their general manager and the decisions by the operators of the president of basketball operations for Minnesota. I mean, this Rudy Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns experiment clearly is not working. Anthony Edwards has had to, deal with all of the damage by still delivering his team wins. I mean, the Timberwolves lineup when both Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns are on the floor is the worst starting lineup in the entire NBA. And the rest of the scoring output comes single-handedly from Anthony Edwards. So his ability to almost keep the pieces together for the Timberwolves, and they are a better team than the Pacers. So the Indiana Pacers have had a hot start, but you're seeing them slowly fall off. And not even slowly, you're seeing them quickly fall off. They're 3-7 in their last 10. Halliburton, yeah, he's great, but still, Anthony Edwards, I would still take over Tyrese Halliburton.
Jock, any more thoughts, or should we move on?
I think that it's very close, but again, for me, I value assists so much, and I value a great ball distributor. And Ben, I agree with you. I value a really great defender when I evaluate my players. And so I get Anthony Edwards has the youth on Halliburton. But if you're going to tell me, like, who would I rather have, just based off of this season, what they've done so far for the next 3 years, I would 100% rather have Tyrese Halliburton over both of those guys. 100%.
But then again, that's not necessarily what we're talking about here.
We're talking about who is better right now, and I would still say Tyrese Halliburton.
Well, we're talking about right now, and if you want to give the edge to Tyrese Halliburton, a very slight edge, I'm going to disagree, but at least I can understand. Like, I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah,
Anthony Edwards in the 2 previous years, because they were they've been in the league the same amount of time. The Minnesota Timberwolves have just simply been better with Anthony Edwards than the Indiana Pacers have been, and the Sacramento Kings have been with Tyrese Halliburton. Anthony Edwards' impact has been felt for the last 3 years way more than Tyrese Halliburton. It's not even remotely close. And if we're talking defenders, the Timberwolves Anthony Edwards and Tyrese Halliburton are very even defenders. They're averaging the same steals per game, and I think around the same blocks per game. Anthony Edwards is a better scorer, as good of a defender, and in my eyes, I see scoring as a more important asset than ball distributing. So that's why I give him the edge.
So I understand that. 2 more things, Ben, and then we can move on to small forwards. This is it for me. I don't like the argument that you brought up about the first 3 years of the career. I get it, but we also have to remember Tyrese Halliburton was in that brutal situation with the Kings for his first 2 years of his life when he was playing with guys like De'Aaron Fox on that team. So to me, I really can't bring that up. You can bring up the numbers. Obviously, the numbers are going to show Anthony Edwards did have better numbers the first couple years of his career, but Halliburton starting to inch. I'd say Halliburton starting to inch closer and closer, and that gap is very, very close. And I think him and Anthony Edwards are a bit on the same playing field. Again, for me, I'm going to take Halliburton a little bit. But again, it's very, very close for me. So I feel like me and Matt's argument here is very, very reasonable and understandable. I can understand both sides. But one real quick thing, it's a little off note, I know it. But Matt said the Pacers are falling off 3 in their last 7. You know who they just lost to? The red-hot New York Knicks right now, the longest winning streak in the NBA. They are clicking on all cylinders right now. And the Knicks are currently 6th in the East, and they're making a push. They're clicking right now. That's all I'm saying.
I mean,
the best team they're the hottest team in the NBA right now, by far. 7 straight.
They're still 6th in the East, so I can't even imagine what's going to happen when they start coming back to earth.
It's 9 straight. It's 9 straight. They play Golden State tonight at home, and then they play Philly at home on Christmas Day.
So we're probably looking at 2 losses there, and that'll send
what happens if the Knicks have a double-digit win streak going into Christmas Day this week? What happens?
They lose on Christmas Day.
I mean, what happens? I guess they're off to a great start.
It's a 10-game win streak for a team that I believe all of us said was like the 10 seed in the East, and they're
will they win a playoff series? Absolutely not.
Last time we saw them in a playoff series, they had a guy take a bow in their logo.
Yeah, what happened to him? He fell off the face of the planet, Nate. So I don't want to hear that from
you. You put him in your top 5. Calm down now.
He was close. He was close. Took him out, but it was close. All right.
You still put him in your top 5 originally, so your argument.
Ben, I'm done here, so we can move it on whenever.
Really quick before we move on, before we get to Ben's list, I'm going to switch. The more that I think about it, I'm going to switch Desmond Bane and Anthony Edwards. I still am going to stay firm at Anthony Edwards at being number 5, but I'll switch and put Desmond Bane at number 4.
That's fine. I'll take what I could get. I'm very happy with that change that Matt made. Very happy with that.
All right, so I'll move on to my top 5 shooting guards in the NBA. Number 1, I have Devin Booker, not so similar to Nate. Number 2, I have Donovan Mitchell. Number 3, I'm slotting in Jaylen Brown. Number 4, I'm actually going to have Fred VanVleet. And number 5, I'm going to have Desmond Bane. Now I'll get to Fred VanVleet. I'm going to try and share my screen as I talk to you about Fred VanVleet.
You really put Freddie in your top 5.
Yeah,
okay. I did. I think. I mean, I'm going to stick on this underrated train. I did so with Drew Holiday. I'm going to do so with Fred VanVleet. here. There we go.
I don't know if he's over Desmond Bane, though.
Fred VanVleet,
Yeah.
Desmond Bane at 5, I'm not even going to argue. I think Desmond Bane is a clear top 5 shooting guard in the NBA. I don't even think that's a debate. Fred VanVleet made his first All-Star game last year. His assists at shooting guard, 7 assists per game as a shooting guard is pretty insane. 20 points per game.
He is the
very
primary
nice.
ball handler, like Tyrese Halliburton.
Yes.
Which is fair. So, but he also has guys like Scotty Barnes and Pascal Siakam to score, still dropping 20 points a game. Also, I said it before, I'll say it again. You know how much I value defense. Past 4 seasons, 2 steals per game, 1.7, 1.7, 1.6. Fred VanVleet is so good on defense. And once again, I value it so much compared to guys.
I will say, though, he is at a disadvantage on defense because of his height.
You. I was just about to
really guard the 1 and the 2.
Yeah,
versus a guy like Drew Holiday who can really guard the 1 through 3, maybe even the 4.
What are you saying here?
No, but Nate's argument's wrong. Ben, are you done here? Can I step in?
You're not going to agree that Drew Holiday can guard the 3 and the 4?
I'm saying how many point guards in the NBA are you seeing that are guarding 1 through 4 in the lineup?
Nate's argument's wrong.
3 even.
Nate's saying the wrong thing about defense, but Ben, do you have anything else?
I'm addressing what Nate just said. I'm addressing what Nate just said.
No, I was just saying Drew Holiday could, and like that's why I said that.
That's about one guy. I don't really know besides maybe Ben Simmons. If you mark him as a point guard, there's really nobody who's guarding anyone past a 1 or a 2.
But and that's my exact point with Fred VanVleet is that he's so good at guarding the 1 and the 2. Like I don't need to know about his versatility on defense. I'm not talking about Giannis. I'm not talking about Kawhi. Like he's very good at guarding the 1 and the 2, which is all he needs to do. Like I said, 2 steals per game. The least amount he's averaged in the past 5 seasons is over 1.5. Like he is unreal on defense. He's putting up points in a very, very good offensive team with Spicy P, with Scotty Barnes, with OG Anunoby, like I mentioned before, also getting 7 assists per game. So Fred VanVleet, once again, similar to Drew Holiday, is so underrated in my opinion. Jock?
So let me argue here, Ben. I don't hate it that much, but the argument you made is just wrong. Fred VanVleet is not a good defender at all. He gets blown by all the time. I used to play with Fred VanVleet in 2K a lot. He's a huge I'm just saying.
Maybe you're just not the best 2K player, bro. Just hold L2.
Nate, stop.
Hold L2 and they don't go by you.
Nate, I'm getting to my point. When I used to play with him on 2K, it made me watch Fred VanVleet a little bit more in real life. So I did watch him in real life. He is a massive liability on defense. He is not a premier defender in this league. Now, he's a very good scorer.
They will definitely say you're crazy right now.
He's not a good defender. I'll stand by that. His defensive rating, his defensive numbers are okay. Not even he's 1.8 steals per game. Not even 2. I mean, for me,
not even 2. What? I don't understand that argument. What is not even 2?
Even just Nate's argument kind of was right, but not at the same time. He has trouble guarding like some point guards or shooting guards. Fred VanVleet is not a great defender in this league. He's a good scorer. So maybe for a mention for me, I could understand, but he's definitely not top 5 for me. And from me watching Fred VanVleet, I don't think he's a very good defender over.
I would not put him over Desmond Bane, though. That's okay.
Guac, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to have to cancel out whatever you just said because you said, yeah, he's not very good in 2K. So, like,
no. I didn't say that. I said I used to play with him. And that made me watch him more in real life. 2K. Because I used to play with him in 2K. It made me watch him more in real life. I never said anything because of 2K.
I feel like that might be a bit of a cop-out, but Freeman, I'll throw it to you.
It's not.
Yeah, so first off, just really quick, I disagree with you, Ben. He's not a top 5 shooting guard. I mean, obviously, he wasn't listed in mine. But I disagree with Jock and Nate here. Like, how is he a poor defender? Like, if you got to look at the numbers, I'm not going to take your word for it that he's not a good defender. Look at the numbers. They don't lie to you.
I'm only saying I say he's not a good defender for like when it comes to guarding a 2 or a 3.
Okay, so to say that Fred VanVleet cannot guard small forwards, sure, I'll give that to you all day. Or bigger shooting guards, I'll give that to you all day. But how does that hinder him? He's a better defender than the majority of any point guard in the NBA. He is a great defender.
So I'll give you an example real quick. SGA is a taller shooting guard. Fred VanVleet would have nightmares guarding SGA if they were to play right now. He would have nightmares. I mean,
I
I
would
mean,
argue
he can't.
anybody would have
SGA
nightmares guarding SGA.
SGA may drop 30 points.
I think like Drew Holiday would struggle to guard SGA. Marcus Smart would struggle to guard SGA.
No one's guarding SGA efficiently. No one's guarding Luka.
Like you'd have to put like Giannis on him, and
well, okay, let's not get crazy. I'm just saying to say who has guarded SGA efficiently this year. Like no one, no star point guard has.
And it was the scouting profile for Chet Holmgren, if you guys remember, are people saying like is this kind of on the same topic, like oh, how is he going to do against Embiid and guys like that? How is he going to do against Giannis? How does anyone do against Embiid and Giannis?
That's what I'm saying.
They're just so good that like you look at how they play against the above average to average guys. You don't look at how they play against these generational talents. That I mean, no one's going to guard them efficiently.
Especially if you're looking at them defensively. Like I don't care who you are. Like the good offense is going to beat good defense any day of the week in the NBA. I mean, we see it night in, night out. You're in the guy's grill, especially if you look at the premier point guards in the NBA, like Luka, like Shea, like Steph. You could play perfect defense, and yet they hit one right in your face. Like it's a good offense in the NBA beats good defense. So I just do not understand the argument that he's a poor defender or not a good defender. He is most definitely a good defender. There's no way you can dispute the numbers. There's absolutely nothing you can say. The numbers are right there. Fred VanVleet is a good defender. I'm not going to take your word for it that he's a poor defender. Really quick, just to disagree with you here, Ben, I think Desmond Bane, shoots incredibly efficiently. I believe, he shoots more efficiently than Desmond Bane shoots way more efficiently than Fred VanVleet. He puts in more points than Fred VanVleet. I would give Fred VanVleet the defensive edge, but if you look at the numbers, but this is where I can see, like, you got to look at them in game. Desmond Bane has the ability to stretch a little bit. He can defend 1 through 3, while Fred VanVleet is kind of restricted to the 1. And I say VanVleet is a better defender. I'm no problems about that. But Desmond Bane, we can't ignore his defensive presence. And Desmond Bane is a very slight step below Fred VanVleet in terms of distributing the ball, and he holds the ball a lot less than Fred VanVleet does. So that's why I got to have Desmond Bane ahead. But I'm with you in saying that Fred VanVleet is slept on, especially his defense is being slept on.
Yeah, Fred, I'm not going to lie. That 4 and 5 for shooting guard between VanVleet and Bane was so close. And honestly, with what you just said, I would probably put Bane above VanVleet at that point. But I think we can move on to small forwards then next. So, Nate, who are your top 5 small forwards in the NBA?
Don't do it.
Don't do it. The 1 and the 2, I actually don't really have a certified one. I have Jason Tatum and Kevin Durant. I don't know who to put 1 and then 2.
Can we please hear who was 1 and who was 2? Because there is a big distinction, in my opinion, of who should be 1 and who should be 2.
Well, if we're going like past history, Kevin Durant's 1, but we're going this year.
It's both.
Jason
It's
Tatum's
this season.
1.
It's this season and like the past year. So I would like to hear it's on how you weigh it. I would like to hear 1.
I would say this season's more important, so I would go Jason Tatum 1, then Kevin Durant, and then
there you go.
Then I have LeBron James, and then I have Jimmy Butler, and then Paul George. Although.
Okay. All right. So, Doc, I feel like you
have.
have.
Let's get him out. Come on.
Yeah. Can I read you out the right list, please? Okay. Number 1 is Kevin Durant. I get that Tatum's the MVP this year, but Kevin Durant is so consistently good, and his numbers are close to Tatum's this year. Tatum's by the clear cut the MVP. KD's done it for longer and is consistently a superstar in the league. So, and he was great last year, and he's great this year. But KD is very, very consistent. He's more consistent than Tatum. That's not because KD may be the most consistent player in the NBA. So I would have KD at 1. I would put Jason Tatum at 2. Number 3, the fact that he wasn't even not on Nate's list baffled me. Is a healthy Kawhi Leonard? He's a superstar in this league. I don't understand that.
I put Kawhi
at number 4. At number 4, I'll give LeBron James, an aging LeBron James, because of the way he's playing this year. And at number 5, my most underrated player in the league, in my opinion, give me Brandon Ingram on a winning Pelicans team this year.
Oh, Lord, no. I'm not going to get into the arguing just yet. I want to get all of our lists out.
Sure.
I have Jason Tatum at number 1. Again, this year is weighed heavier than any other year. So I understand Kevin Durant's been doing it for a longer time, but I mean, Jason Tatum's the MVP this year, and then the 2 years previous, they're very, very even. So I give the edge to Jason Tatum. He's 1. Kevin Durant's 2. I have LeBron at 3 because Kawhi Leonard is made of glass. I like my players when they play on the court, not when they're, in a hospital. So give me LeBron at number 3. Give me Kawhi at number 4. And at number 5, I think it's pretty easy. I'll take Paul George.
All right, so I'll run through my top 5 here. Once again, I agree with Freeman for the most part, actually. Jason Tatum at 1. I got Kevin Durant at 2. LeBron James at 3. Number 4, I have Kawhi. But then number 5, I'm going to throw Jimmy Butler in. So, guys, I want to gauge each list. So,
okay,
Nate,
can I go first here?
Yeah, let's head back to Nate's list.
From your reactions, it sounded like you guys were just gonna have a completely different list than me. We had this 3 of us had the same 1, 2, 3 actually. It's just the 4 and the 5 that we changed. I put Jimmy Butler at 4 and Paul George at 5. Okay. Matt put Kawhi at 4. I thought he was a power forward, so that's my fault there. I still would have put him at 5 over Paul George, but that's just because I look at Jimmy Butler and what he's done in the past, though.
So,
which is very fair in my opinion.
Right. All right. So I'll get into the couple things that disgruntle me a little bit. So number 1, I'm a huge advocate for Paul George. I believe I said earlier in the show that I believe that Paul George could end as a top 5 in the MVP conversation. That's obviously not going to happen. I'm a huge advocate for him, though. I think his game is very special. I don't mind him being at 5 over Brandon Ingram. I could switch those 2 out. The one that really I don't understand is Jimmy Butler at 4 or 5. I don't think he should not be able to. He doesn't sniff my top 5 on a Heat team that is struggling so much. Oh. I just don't understand why, especially if you want to say you're weighing this year more. You could put a guy like Brandon Ingram over him. You could put a guy. You could put Kawhi over him. You could put Paul George over him. Like all the guys mentioned there, I would take over Jimmy Butler, especially if Matt, like we said, we're weighing this year a little bit more. Jimmy Butler doesn't even sniff the top 5 for me. For me, I would much rather have. There's a couple different guys that I would rather have this year over Jimmy Butler for weighing it that way. And then for me, I think Brandon Ingram and his team has been winning with Zion. He's the number 2 option on that team, and he's been stellar this year. And his numbers have taken a massive jump from last year. So for me, I like Brandon Ingram, and I think him and Paul George are very, very close, and Jimmy Butler's just behind.
Yeah, Brandon Ingram is behind Paul George, like I said in my list, and he's also behind Jimmy Butler.
No, he's not.
Who neither Jimmy Butler and Brandon Ingram, they were both out of my list. Jimmy Butler is just flat out playing better than Brandon Ingram this year. Like, this is where I really don't understand what you're looking at. Jimmy Butler is one of the most efficient scorers in the NBA, shooting 52.9% from the field. He's averaging more points, more assists, more rebounds than Brandon Ingram, and shooting at a way, way more efficient rate. Not to mention,
he's also a better defender.
2 steals per game. He is better than Brandon Ingram in every facet this year. How in God's name is Brandon Ingram ahead of Jimmy Butler for you?
Because Brandon Ingram is contributing to one of the best teams in the West, and his team is winning. He's the number 2 option.
This is where you lose.
And what has Jimmy Butler done? What has Jimmy Butler done for the Heat? What has he done?
I just
take them this.
What?
He's given more points. He's given more points.
They've been awful this year, Ben. I don't know what you're saying.
We're the 1 seed last year. Hold up.
30 games.
The Miami Heat have been. They have been atrocious this year. I don't know what we're saying here.
They're 1 game over 500.
I'm taking the Heat over the Knicks in a 7-game series. Let's just make that clear.
Oh, stop it, man. Stop it.
They're right in the middle of the East. And you are relying way too much on team success. Look at who the Heat have and look at who the Pelicans have. The Jimmy Butler is the best player on
the skill levels.
Jimmy Butler is the best player on his team. Jimmy Butler is the best player on his team. Tell me where Brandon Ingram is better than Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is a better
to a winning team, and it is shown. It is shown that Brandon Ingram.
Hold on. Jimmy Butler is a better scorer this year. Fact. You cannot argue that. It's true. Jimmy Butler is a better rebounder this year. Fact. You cannot argue that. It's true. He's a better distributor this year. Again, that's a fact. You cannot argue that. And he's shooting way more efficient than Brandon Ingram is, and playing way better defense than Brandon Ingram is. Where is Brandon Ingram better than Jimmy Butler?
For me, For me, I weigh so heavily on if a player can win. And Brandon Ingram has shown he can step up to be that number one role on the Pelicans anytime he wants when Zion's out. And he's the reason why the Pelicans, when Zion was out, he's the reason why the Pelicans are a top 2 team in the West as of right now. Because the Pelicans have been played that good, and Brandon Ingram has been able to fill in Zion's shoes when he is out.
Doesn't exist, I guess. Like
I just
Zion takes like 70% of that, bro. Zion's the main reason.
Played 15 games and Zion has played 25. So where is Brandon Ingram stepping up in Zion's absence?
Because Zion has been hurt as well this year. They've both been hurt. I'm not saying they've both been hurt, but there was, I believe, a 2-week stretch when Zion was hurt and Brandon Ingram played, and Brandon Ingram stepped in and filled his roles, and the Pelicans won like 5 out of 7 games. I mean, Brandon Ingram can easily step into Zion's role if he needed to, and his shot selection he doesn't need to shoot as much because he has Zion Williamson on his team.
He shoots more. He shoots more than Jimmy Butler. He is inefficient when he shoots more.
Can you read me out the numbers, please?
Okay, I'm sure. Jimmy Butler shoots 52.9% from the field. Brandon Ingram shoots.
Can we move on? This is a terrible argument.
It's close. And also, it's close enough.
No, stop. Also, it's close.
No, it's not.
It's not. Brandon Ingram is worse than Jimmy Butler in every single aspect of the game. Every single
except
one.
Winning. Except on being on a winning team.
The winning, which is not an individual.
Which is a major contributor. Which is a major contributor to.
I have to hop in here.
Please.
You want to talk about winning? Jimmy Butler. I mean, dude,
he took a team to the finals. Let's just not forget that.
This is 30 games in. Look at what Jimmy Butler has done for the Miami Heat the past 3 seasons. The NBA Finals, then the Eastern Conference Finals just 1-2 years ago. You want to talk about winning?
2 straight years. Wait, wasn't it 2 straight years?
It might have been 2. Thank you, Nate. Exactly. You want to talk about winning? The Pelicans look good in the first not even half of the 2022 season. Jimmy Butler, in terms of winning,
and let's not forget, Brandon Ingram and Zion are also
Eastern Conference titles. In terms of records, he's always the number 1 seed in the East. You want to talk about winning? Jimmy Butler is a way better winner than Brandon Ingram ever will be.
I don't understand how you could shake your head. It's a fact. Jimmy Butler is better than Brandon Ingram in every aspect of the game. Every single aspect.
Sure. Brandon Ingram has won more games this season. But I mean, statistically, like Freeman said, in every aspect, Jimmy Butler this season alone has been better, including pretty much every season in both their careers in the past.
The only time I will ever accept someone saying Brandon Ingram is better is when Jimmy Butler is injured and he's playing still.
I completely agree. The whole winning argument, I just had to get in because I mean, you want to talk about winning? You talk about the Miami Heat. Sure,
the Miami Heat has been one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference for the past 5 years.
Exactly. I mean, it's not titles. They're not beating the Warriors. They're not beating
the Lakers, obviously in 2020. Right. Sadly.
Fine. Let me ask this then.
Other teams like that, but
then would you take Jimmy Butler over Paul George?
Me?
Yes.
I did, but that's because I look at past.
Yeah, that's a lot closer than Jimmy Butler and Brandon Ingram.
I'm still waiting.
I think it's close. Again, I don't have a major argument.
Where is it close?
I just said it's leaps and miles between Brandon Ingram and Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler. We just said.
And also, Brandon Ingram is improving. Brandon Ingram's still very, very young. He's improving.
No, we're not talking about improving.
That has nothing to do with this list.
Yeah, but you make that argument, but then you could also say Evan Mobley will be better than Giannis in 5 years.
How is Brandon Ingram better than Jimmy Butler? Give me one way, because winning is not a way. Jimmy Butler is a way better winner than Brandon Ingram ever has been and is. So where is Brandon Ingram better than Jimmy Butler? Name one way.
Fine, I'll agree with you.
Okay, perfect. That's all we needed. I think we'll move on to the top 5 power forwards then. So Nate, give us your top 5 power forwards in the NBA.
Giannis Antetokounmpo is at 1. I put Anthony Davis at 2. At 3, I put Kawhi. I put Kawhi at 3 because I thought he was a power forward here. If we're not putting, we're going to say he's a small forward for this.
Yeah, no, just for the sake of your list. Just keep it
all right, then I'm going to go Kristaps Porzingis at 4. I put Pascal Siakam at 5, but I also thought Jaren Jackson Jr.
All right, Nate is 0 for 4 on the day. All right, here we go.
We had small forward. We all had the similar list.
I'm a lot. I have done a lot better. I think I'm a lot closer than what Nate has. SGA at 2 just baffles me still. Number
Okay.
1 is Giannis Antetokounmpo, no doubt the number 1 power forward in the league. Number 2, as much as I hate him, I think he's a piece of glass too. Is Anthony Davis, and again, he's a great scorer.
So
But
we
there's
have
no
the same list. How am I 0 for 4 so far?
wait.
Keep it going,
Zion Williamson should clear cut be the number 3. When Zion is healthy, he's one of the best power forwards in the league. At number 4, I'm gonna take a chance on the young guy. I think he's proved enough. Ben, I'm gonna screen share here as well. Before I even say his name, I'll let it be a little bit of a surprise for you
Say
guys.
his name, bro.
I think we know.
Then
based
here
on what
you
he
go.
said.
You can put him up on the screen. I think it's Evan Mobley, and I'll tell you why. I think Evan Mobley is slowly becoming one of the best defensive big men in the league. I think he is a elite player. So for me, and again, winning, you want to talk about the Cavs winning this year? Evan Mobley has just been undeniably great this year. And I think that I just think he's so elite. So I'm going to put Evan Mobley at number 4. And at number 5, I have a 1A, 1B. I would be fine with either of these guys. I would say Spicy P, Pascal Siakam at number 5. Or if you want to talk about, I get he's a rookie, but Paulo should be mentioned here, I would say. I think Paulo is very, very close in this.
So Jaren Jackson Jr. doesn't exist.
I think he's 7. I think both. I think all those guys I would take.
Oh my lord!
Paulo has a potential superstar in this league. I don't get what we're doing there. No,
Matt, go.
I'm okay. I would like to have the first word after you give your list.
I'll run through mine. You've won the first word.
Giannis number 1, Anthony Davis number 2, Zion number 3. By the way, those 3 really shouldn't be in any other order.
Yeah.
I have Pascal Siakam at number 4 and Jaren Jackson Jr. at number 5.
Okay, so my top 5, I got Giannis at number 1. I have Anthony Davis at number 2. I have Zion at number 3. I have Pascal Siakam at number 4. Number 5 is extremely close. I'm actually going to give the edge to Domantas Sabonis over Jaren Jackson. So Domantas Sabonis takes the 5 spot in my list. Freeman, you might have stuff to say about my list, but I know you got to talk about what Jock just said, so go ahead.
I absolutely have to talk about what Jock just said. The mention of Evan Mobley ahead of Jaren Jackson Jr. is the worst thing I have ever heard in my entire life.
Why? Tell me why. Tell me why.
If you give me a second, you will hear why.
I'm
Jaren
giving
Jackson
you a second.
Jr. Like once again, I just don't even understand where you're coming up with this. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a better scorer than Evan Mobley, no doubt about it. He's a better defender than Evan Mobley.
What? Because he averages 1 more point per game? I mean, really?
He averages 2 more points per game. And
okay, big difference. I mean,
Evan Mobley also does not take a lot of shots as well.
Okay, Evan Mobley's also
not Evan Mobley. Jaren Jackson doesn't take a lot of shots.
Evan Mobley also blows Jaren Jackson out of the water defensively.
No, oh my goodness! Oh my!
You're talking about a defensive player of the year candidate, Jaren Jackson Jr.
In my entire life, that's the worst take I've ever heard in my entire life.
Why? Why the numbers show? Why the numbers show? Jaren Jackson is averaging half a block more than Evan Mobley per game. Why? Why? Half a block more than Evan Mobley a game. Why?
Not a half a block. Evan Mobley is averaging 1.3 blocks per game.
Yes, and Jaren's averaging 2.4.
3.1, Jock. 3.1.
What?
Someone please
we can't be doing this again.
Someone, I know
this
I'm right.
This is just like the Kevin. Was it Kevin Huerter?
Right. He blows him out of the water defensively.
We're talking about the 2022 season here, correct?
2022, 2023
okay,
season.
Jaren Jackson is sitting at 3.1.
Yes. I know I'm right. Okay. It's 3.1.
You're talking to a Grizzlies fan over there, man.
This is where it's absolutely unbelievable. He is a better scorer. You know what? I'd even say they're even scores because Jaren Jackson Jr. scores more points. He's slightly less efficient, but Jaren Jackson Jr.'s degree of shot difficulty is much different because he just plays a different role other than a lob catcher and just finishing Darius Garland's food, when he gets set up down low. This is the worst take I've ever heard in my entire life. Would you like to rescind that you just said that Evan Mobley's a better defender than Jaren Jackson Jr.? Because Jaren Jackson Jr.
I can take that back, but I won't take over the fact that I think Evan Mobley and Jaren Jackson Jr. are very close. But I would take.
You cannot keep going back to very close. You told me that Evan Mobley is better than.
I would still take Evan Mobley over Jaren.
Hold on. You told me that Evan Mobley is better than Jaren Jackson Jr.
I still believe that.
Yes. That is what you said.
Yes.
Now let's go through it real quick because you love team success. The Grizzlies are a better team than the Cavs. You already agreed with me. They're a better team than the Cavs. Then team success goes to the Grizzlies. Points, but scoring.
You want to take what's
No,
up?
I don't want to take a look at it because there have been injuries, Jock. If you look at the games when Jaren Jackson Jr. is on the floor, the Grizzlies
I'm
have the
looking at
best
averages,
3%.
Matt.
Say again?
Go ahead. Finish. Read
The
out what you
Grizzlies, when Jaren Jackson Jr. is on the floor, has the best record in the entire NBA, best winning percentage in the NBA. So team success goes to the Grizzlies. Scoring goes to Jaren Jackson Jr.
By a
Defense
hair.
goes to Jaren Jackson Jr. Where?
Yeah,
Once again,
yeah.
where
Evan
is
Mobley
better?
Evan Mobley has 2.7 assists per game. Jaren Jackson has 0.5. That's a
Okay,
huge difference.
You're talking
Maybe
about
one
a guy who
score.
also doesn't get the
This is
ball.
where it gets laughable. It really does. You're comparing 2.5 to 0.5. These are both abysmal numbers. They're not ball distributors whatsoever. That's what you're hanging your hat on. You're telling me Evan Mobley's a better player than Jaren Jackson
And the
Jr.
points per game
because he averages 2 assists per game. That's what you're hanging your hat on. Then my work's done because I know I won that argument. You look at their entire body of work. Jaren Jackson is better in every aspect except ball distributing, and this is a power forward. This is not a point guard where it's one of their main jobs. Jaren Jackson Jr. is so far ahead of Evan Mobley. It is really comical to me. I don't understand how you could ever have Evan Mobley ahead of Jaren Jackson Jr.
Are we all good then on power forwards there?
Just move on. There's no argument to be made that Jaren Jackson Jr. is not better than Evan Mobley.
By a hair better score. All right, go ahead, man.
I gave out my list. I actually had Sabonis at 5. I think Freeman.
I don't hate it. His team's winning, so
I don't hate it either. I don't want to take the winning into account too much there.
Siakam, all I have to say is Siakam deserves to be on this top 5, and I think you put him right.
He's my number 4.
Evan Mobley. I would take. I'm not just really quick off the dome. I'll take Giannis over Evan Mobley, Anthony Davis, Zion, Spicy P, Jaren. I'll take Sabonis.
Hollow.
I would. Well, I mean, you're throwing these out there. You're the one that put Evan Mobley at number 4.
I still wouldn't take Jaren. I still wouldn't take Jaren. I wouldn't take Jaren. I wouldn't take Sabonis.
Why would you? Can you tell me what Evan Mobley's better at than Jaren Jackson Jr.?
Than Jaren Jackson Jr.?
Yes, because
they're very similar scores. I get Jaren is a bit better defensively. I can say that.
Not a bit. Not a bit.
That's crazy. Okay.
It is a bit. It is a bit.
It's not a bit. He averages almost 2 blocks.
Don't be arguing that.
Can we just move on? Like, there's no hope for this.
I'm wondering where we get that Evan Mobley's better.
For me, I still wouldn't take Jaren. I wouldn't take Sabonis over him.
Why would you not take Jaren?
I just made my points, Matt. I made my points.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Your points were wrong. You said he was a better defender. That's wrong. Where is your?
Did I not say it was wrong? It's close though. It's still close.
No. Present a valid point why Evan Mobley is better than.
He averages a little more over a block per game. At scoring, they're very, very similar. Evan Mobley has a much higher assist rate and has much higher assists per game, and they're just very similar.
So basically, your argument is he has more assists.
So your argument, I just want to get this straight. All I need is a yes or a no. Jaren Jackson Jr. averages more points per game
by a hair.
Averages more points per game, averages way more blocks per game, and you are telling me way more. It's way more. It's well over a block and a half. It's not this. It's way more.
It's literally double what Evan Mobley has.
Is where it just
block and a half is a lot.
A block and a half is a lot.
So a block and a half is like 40 games.
All you want. You're wrong. You're flat out wrong. So when you look at, like I'm saying, Jaren Jackson Jr. is a better scorer. You just agreed. You can say a bit. He is a better scorer. He is a better defender. You can say a bit. He's a better defender, and it's not by a bit. It's by a lot. I think that's all. We're on agreement there. If you are telling me that you're going to ignore all of that because Evan Mobley has more assists per game than Jaren Jackson Jr. and that's why he's better, I don't know what to tell you. I'm at a loss. I can't argue that.
I think we should just move on to the top 5 centers and wrap this episode up. So, Nate, give us your top 5 big men in the league, a.k.a. centers.
I go the Joker, Nikola Jokic at 1, Joel Embiid at 2, Bam Adebayo at 3. At 4, Clint Capella. It's actually Karl Anthony Towns at number 4, and I have Domantas Sabonis at 5. I had to hit the Clint Capella.
Yeah, he caught us off guard. Who was number 5 again?
Number 5 is Sabonis, and 4 is Cat.
Okay. Again with the Sabonis power forward center, but that's all right. Okay. So any thoughts before we move on to Jock's list?
I wouldn't necessarily have Sabonis there. There's a guy that I think you're missing, but other than that, I think it's outside of number 1 and number 2. I think everything else is pretty interchangeable. So really like mad, but I don't agree from player to player.
All right, so
So I get my list is a little bit controversial because for me the center one it's a little iffy on me. So I could have some major changes. So I'm not too crazy about this. The one guy I know I left off my list is Bam that Nate said. But here's my 5. I'm gonna go Jokic at 1 and beat it 2. I'm gonna put DeAndre Ayton at 3 because his team wins and he's been a big contributor to that success. At number 4, because the skill is undoubtedly there, even with the down season, I'm gonna put Karl Anthony Towns. And at number 5, a bit controversial. Ben, I'm gonna screen share again here real quick.
Just say the name, man.
I would love to screen share here though.
yeah,
It's Jared Allen.
I'll give it to him, man. Matt threw some
Brooke
mention at
Lopez.
Brooke Lopez. I love Brooke Lopez this year.
Wow.
Brooke Lopez is having. Oh, okay.
I
Brooke
don't
Lopez,
even want to argue this one.
I mean, Brooke Lopez is having a great year and has been a huge contributor as to why his team is winning. I know Matt mentioned him a couple of
Miles
He's been great. He's been great defensively. And again, I'm a bet here. I could move him out, but I like a little bit of controversy, and I like what Brooke Lopez has done so far this year.
A little bit of controversy.
I'm gonna slide Brooke Lopez in there. Second prime with Brooke Lopez in Milwaukee. You heard it here first.
Yeah, so I'll give some thoughts on the Brooke Lopez take. I'm not going to argue the fact that he's played incredible this season. I think defensively he's been unreal for the Bucks. I think that's pretty evident. He's been so good so far, even on the offensive side too. He's played very solid. But I think you just got to take into account what he's done in the past. Like once again, I'll keep bringing this up. We're 30 games in. We're like 1,000 minutes for each of these players in, and hey, he's playing great, but. Last season, the season before that, he's been solid. He's been like an average to maybe a little bit above average center. So that's the only reason why I wouldn't have him in my top 5. If we're just going off this year alone, I think he actually would be in my top 5 centers. But I think you got to take into account what they've done past couple of seasons.
And that's why, because again, we talked about it earlier in the episode, we're taking mostly into account this year, mostly. So that's why for me, I'm going to slide him in at number 5, but I could easily take him out. I'm not going to sit here and argue it.
Real quick before Freeman goes, I think it's subjective with that. What we're taking into account, I feel like most of you guys, I'm taking more into account the past couple of seasons. While it seems like Jock is taking into account this year, but hey, that's where we get to argue at, which makes it more fun. So yeah, no, Brooke Lopez for your sake, for your mindset right now, it makes sense, but for me, I just don't see it. So, Freeman, you want to give us your top 5?
Yeah, Jock, I'm liking your top 5 until we get to number 5. So I'll go Jokic 1. This is mostly Ben's guy, but I mean, I'll advocate for him. If you don't have Jokic 1, you're wrong. Number 2 is Embiid. Number 3, I'll have Karl Anthony Towns. I think that bringing Rudy Gobert in was unfair to him, and I think it really blows up both Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns' their careers, kind of. So, but I think Karl Anthony Towns doesn't get the respect he deserves, even though he's dealing through a tough situation. DeAndre Ayton, I'll throw in at number 4. Number 5 is absolutely Bam Adebayo.
That was the guy I was debating between.
He's been better than Brooke Lopez the past 3 years. Like, blows him out of the water scoring. Way more efficient of a scorer. I mean, defense, you could argue. I mean, Bam is a much more versatile defender. Brooke Lopez, more of a shot blocker. Then again, you could say, well, Brooke Lopez is playing alongside of maybe the best defender in the NBA, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Bam is the most relied upon guy in that Miami Heat paint that they rely on to send shots back. So I'd give the defensive edge to Bam slightly, and I'd give the offensive edge to Bam by a very good margin. So give me Bam over Brooke, and I'll slide Bam in at 5.
All right, so I think that list is pretty solid. I don't think we can really talk about it much. I'll give out my top 5 centers then. The 1 and 2 are obvious. 1 is the guy I've advocated most for. Give me Jokic at the 1. Give me Embiid at the 2. And a guy whose name hasn't been mentioned yet in any of our top 5s. Give me Rudy Gobert.
I knew it was coming. I know because you weigh past achievements, great defensive player. I knew it was coming.
And then give me Cat at the 4 and give me Bam at the 5. So I'll like kind of like Guac said, I'll talk about why Gobert is at the 3. He's won DPOY 3 times in recent history. I actually think he deserved a couple more. Like last year, I think he deserved it. For a big man and the role he plays, he was unbelievably valuable to the Jazz. It was unreal how valuable he was. Obviously, in the Timberwolves hasn't worked out it excellently, but once again, we're 30, 35 games in. So I'm really looking at the stuff he's done the past couple of seasons. You talk about Cat. I mean, we all mentioned it. So he's so versatile. He's the most versatile big man in the league, possibly ever. Is even a debate. Maybe the best shooting big man ever. There's guys like Dirk, but he has an argument. And then 5, Bam, yeah, like Freeman said, so good defensively, so heavily relied upon defensively. So yeah, that is my top 5. Jock, I see your hand. So
Yeah,
what did it say?
I'm not going to sit here and argue it because I think that the way you view it is right, and if you are viewing it that way, Gobert should be in the top 5. So I'm not going to argue that. I just think that one of those 3 has to come out to put DeAndre Ayton in there. Again, I'm not going to sit here and advocate for him, but DeAndre Ayton has won. He's helped take his team to the finals, and for me, out of your top 5, I would still take Bam out. I think Ayton's a better player than Bam Adebayo. I think that they're very close defensively, and Ayton's a much better scorer than Bam is. So I think that the margin's close, but I think you have to put Ayton over one of those 3 guys. Which one of those 3 doesn't really matter to me, but I think Ayton has to be in the top 5.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I mean, I have Ayton in my top 5. It kind of depends on what you weigh. Rudy is having I mean, he's
abysmal.
You know what? I don't mind sliding him in there. I mean, he's had a rough start to this year, a lot of unexpected, twists and turns with this whole new situation that he's been put in. But I wouldn't put Rudy in my top 5. Clearly, he didn't slide in on mine. If you want to advocate for him, I'm okay with you sliding him in at 5. I don't know if putting him at number 3 is valid. I think they're just Karl-Anthony Towns is a completely different animal scoring the basketball, and his defense is not there. But I think Rudy is very one-dimensional on offense, and it's not really his doing that for him. When he puts up points, it's not really his doing. It's more just his very skilled teammates setting him up. So, I mean, him sliding in the top 5, I'm not mad. I just, at 3, I think is a little bit too much.
I think that might do it. I could argue for Rudy Gobert for hours, which I will spare our viewers of. So I think that's going to wrap it up, guys, for episode 10. Once again, massive achievement, Rim Grazers, Joe's Knows Basketball, whatever you want to call us. Episode 10 is in the wraps. Nate Perez, Giacomo Imperiale, Matt Freeman. I've been your host, Ben Chadwick. Thanks for watching.